How's it going, everybody? I hope everybody's having a fantastic day at home. In this video we're gonna have a look at the Chevy Traverse. It's been facelifted just now, and we're gonna have a look at the front view of this car. There are a few details and lines about this front that doesn't make sense to me. I'm gonna show you what doesn't make sense and also how to fix that. I think this is probably one of the blandest looking new cars out there. That's fine, I guess, but it could have some more personality in the front, and that's what we're gonna have a look at right now. So let's jump into Photoshop. Let me show you what is up with this front and what changes we are going to make. Okay, so the biggest issue that I have with this car is that it doesn't have any personality at all, and it's a mix of some very simple geometries and then they throw in some complex lines in here. So let me show you what I mean specifically. First of all, we have the headlights, which actually are down here, and this seems to be a trend now. We have Hyundai, basically every single model have their headlights in the bumper, and Kia as well, and I guess Chevy is jumping on this train as well to move down the main headlights from the regular position up here down to this position down here, and that is just for the sake of styling, because that means that you can have the running lights up here be very narrow and look very squinty and aggressive and angry. But I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of that. So what I want to do is take this. You see that there's a little light bulb in here, and this is the main projector of the light. So I'm gonna move that, smack it up here, and just remove this little thing that's in there and replace this with a light bulb in there, so that we have this part, which is the biggest problem of this car, of this design. I want to have that as clean as possible and not have anything here except for a nice smooth body line that goes maybe up here from this line here. So you have the shoulder line that continues from over here, and then it goes down here, in here, down into this black graphic right here, and then we can have a chamfer here. Maybe we can have a inverted chamfer right here to create some dynamic lines in that surface, since it's going to be very flat otherwise, and just a plain surface. We can play around with some styling cues in that area of the front. Another thing I want to do here is to make this grille. I want to have that black. I think it's going to make a big difference, specifically since the lower part here is black. But also what I want to do with this lower part is to have some more resemblance to this graphic right here. You see these frames of the main grille right there? I want to move them down, but of course scale them to size to fit this part right here, and have the same kind of framing of the lower grille that we have on the top grille. And that means that this line right here is going to go into this chamfer that I was talking about earlier. So we're gonna have the chamfer go there and then into that line, and that connects the whole front, and it actually connects the whole car, because that's gonna be that one line that I'm talked about before, the single line that you can follow with your eyes. If you have this car on a turntable, you can follow that line across the entire car, all around the car, and it kind of brings everything together and connects the whole design. Next up, we have the wheels. The wheels of this is a kind of a typical going from concept to production wheel. So in concept, you have the wheels always, the fitment of the wheels in a concept car, it's always perfect. You have it flush or even sticking out a little bit wider than the car body itself. So I think these wheels and tires are too small for this type of car. I know it's a typical soccer mom car, but that doesn't mean that we can have some sporty tires, because let's face it, nobody is going to take this Traverse off-road, and even if they do, it's not going to be out in the bush, in the wild. They're just going to take it on the gravel road or something like that. So it doesn't really need to be very off-roady. I had two choices to go with this car. I could either make it very off-roady with some huge tires sticking out here and small wheels like that, kind of like a lifted Jeep or something like that, or I can make it closer to a Jeep SRT Grand Cherokee or something like that. So I went with the latter here and tried to make this more sporty in appearance than off-road and rugged, because I think if you think about who the market is for this car, they would prefer to have it more sporty. and more suited for a regular road than off-road. So generally what we're going to do is to clean up this front end here and these lines that doesn't make sense to me. We have this line that goes like this, and then we have the headlight that goes the opposite way and have some sort of curvature there. Tiny details that I just want to go in and adjust, and that's what we're going to do. And of course, since we're making the grille black, that means that we can't have trim pieces all around the car, such as this piece right here, be chrome, so I'm gonna make that black as well. And probably have this part, the end point, stick out a bit further to make it more of a boxy design than it is right now. And with that said, let's jump into Photoshop again here. Let's get into the actual redesign of this car and make all of these changes that I just talked about. So let's talk about what's new with this updated Traverse for 2021 on the exterior, the interior, and some safety features. So on the exterior, it's pretty obvious what's new. It's the updated front grille, the restyled front and rear fascias. Mostly the LEDs now are standard on the Traverse, as well as the rest of, I think pretty much the rest of the Chevy lineup now. All of them have these LED running lights that kind of gives the brand an identity at night. You also have 4 new wheel designs and the turn signal indicators integrated into the daytime running lamps. On the interior, you have all new interior seating options, and an option now is a dual Skyscape 2-panel power sunroof with the new rear power sunshades. You also have the option of wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto TM capability. On the dash, you have an 8-inch diagonal driver information center. The cargo space has been improved, and you also now have a wireless charging pad for your phone with USB ports in all rows. For the safety features, you have adaptive cruise control is now available on 3LT, RS, and the Premier. You have automatic emergency braking, you have front pedestrian detection and braking, of course, lane keep assist with lane departure warning, something I can't stand when I'm driving a car and I kind of move over to one side of the lane and it just, you can feel the wheel getting annoyed and trying to put you back in the center of the lane. It just makes me more anxious when I'm driving because I'm just waiting for that little annoying alert and assist to kick in the wheel. I just rather have it off completely, but hey, it's available in the new Traverse here. You also have forward collision alert and auto high beams, and you also have an indicator that shows you the following car and the distance to the car behind you. Now, Chevy themselves have said that this facelift has been very, very, very well received amongst its current Traverse customers. And, you know, it's not hard to tell because it's not a major update to the design, it's just a facelift. And it's a very, very, very safe design as well. So there's not really a lot to complain about. They play it kind of safe, and that's totally fine. I mean, it's Chevy. It's not supposed to stick out too much. It's supposed to be the SUV for someone who just wants a regular SUV and doesn't necessarily care about design too much, but just want to have an SUV that's comfortable and reasonably priced to take them from point A to point B. But there is always something to talk about when it comes to the styling of a car, even if it's supposed to be very generic like this one. And the biggest issue, if you want to call it an issue, if I can find some issues with this generic design, is that the headlight unit of this car, which is in the bumper, which I said before, it just seems out of place because it's almost like a squared piece of graphic compared to the very dynamic light at the top, which is the daylight running lights. And if you compare these two elements, they don't seem like they play along well together. So what I want to do is basically clean up the front, and I think that's where we're going to. I think we're going to get less and less tiny details and tiny small graphics, and we're going to have larger surfaces that are kind of empty from graphical styling and have more of a functional design moving forward with a few key elements for each brand that will make them stand out and separate them from the rest of the manufacturers. And that's kind of what I want to implement here, but in a smaller scale. So remove these headlights that are integrated in the bumper. I don't want those. I want to have regular headlights up there by the grille. And by doing that, we remove the unnecessary clutter that is the headlight in the bumper and the air intake. I don't even know if it is an air intake. There is just black plastic. Anyway, clean up the front, and that's what we're doing right here. I of course want to show you the rear as well of this new Traverse, the facelift of it, and I do like the graphics of the rear lights, even though if you remove the rear lights, just remove these, don't think of these in the design, this rear part is like a mix of every single mid-size SUV out there. You could barely tell, is it an Explorer, is it a Palisade, is it a Kia? It's very hard to tell if you don't have the badge, of course, the Chevy badge, which gives it away, obviously, but if you don't have the rear lights there, and I guess it's fine. I guess it's fine to have cars like this that are kind of the, if you played Need for Speed in the mid-2000s, they had these cool, awesome tracks, of course, and I'm going off on a tangent here, I know, but bear with me, I'm getting to a point. And they also had to fill these tracks with random cars, an SUV, a truck, a van, and something like that. So if they had an SUV for that game that would be as generic as possible just to fill up the track and give you some traffic when you're racing, the Chevy Traverse would be the Need for Speed generic SUV. Anyhow, that's the redesign of the 2021, I think this is, Chevy Traverse. The front view, I think we cleaned it up pretty good here. And I like this style better without the headlights in the bumpers. I know it's a new thing that everybody's trying, but I think eventually everybody's going to go back to having two headlights and as eyeballs up by the grille as we're used to seeing the cars. But of course, this is all going to change, and we're going to see a lot of new packages and a lot of new different kind of styling with electric cars. I've said that before, and I think that's going to apply to front and rear graphics of the lights as well. I'm TheSketchMonkey. Thank you for staying around for this long in this video, all the way to the end of it, in fact. Thanks for that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.